Hello, dear viewers. Support me by subscribing to my channel and share my video if you like it. And also, make sure you comment your thought. Now let's start the video. Bella POV. He just left. He just told me he didn't want me and left me behind. I knew things would be different. I knew that 4 nights ago, he told me he loved me then, and I wore down his self-control. It was magic. Amazing magic. He seemed content, happy even, but it must not have been what he thought it would be. It was beautiful, it was perfect, and the more I think about it, it makes me sick, literally. He said he didn't love me, that he didn't want me. I really wish I could feel the same. Instead of this broken person, I feel like, not broken, shattered. I'll never be put back together. I know it. Everything feels numb now. Like the world is covered in jello. It doesn't seem real. I can't seem to close my window, just hoping he'll hop though it and tell me it was some elaborate joke that Emmett forced him to play. But that's not gonna happen. He's gone. He's not coming back. None of them are. I'm on my own. God, it makes me sick. Bella POV. It's been about a week since he left. I can't think his name, let alone say it. Luckily, Charlie figured that one out fairly quickly. He's given me my space, which has consisted of me spending the last 5 days in my room. I've only left my sanctuary to get food or go to the bathroom, but I needed to go to school today. It's not like I was behind in school or anything. I had pretty good grades actually, all thanks to my tutoring sessions with him before he left, and Angela had dropped off all my homework from the past week. But Charlie was starting to hover, something I never thought I'd see. I must look worse than I thought. Charlie had already called Renee to give her a heads up about my state. I didn't need to deal with both of them right now. Actually, I am certain I can't deal with them both right now. I went to the bathroom to brush my teeth and ended up throwing up for the 6th day in a row. That's what I get for thinking of him. I really need to stop that. I brushed my teeth again and pulled my hair back in a ponytail. I should have washed it, but honestly, who am I trying to impress? I took off my old sweatshirt I was sleeping in and put on a bra. I grabbed an old flannel shirt and buttoned it down. I grabbed a pair of jeans and pulled them on while staring out my now locked window. What the hell? They wouldn't close. Okay, weird. They fit perfectly the last time I wore them. If anything, they should fit looser, since I've been so sick the last few days. Lord knows I wasn't keeping much down. I figured I would need a belt if anything. I couldn't seem to find it in me to care too much after the initial shock wore off. I probably just shrunk them in the laundry or something. I grabbed a pair of jogging pants. I think they matched my shirt, but again, who was I trying to impress? After grabbing a granola bar and my jacket, I got into my truck and drove to school. Charlie was more than relieved. I stumbled out of my truck. Why does the door have to get stuck today? Tomorrow, after the gossip is down a bit, would have been better. I'm not that lucky. I could feel all the stares, glares, and curious glances. They all knew. They all knew he left. They all knew he broke up with me. They all knew I got lost in the woods trying to find him. They all knew I was pathetic. There she is. I told you she couldn't skip for too long. Big surprise. Jessica. Well, truancy is a crime, and her dad is the chief. She can't be above the law. Of course Lauren was right on the Bash Bella train. Guys, give her a break. She's probably having a hard time. I really need to put an effort into being more appreciative of Angela. Of course, Jess and Lauren just kept going. I heard she was on suicide watch after the incident in the woods. Well, that's stupid. He broke up with her. She should have seen it coming. I guess that's the truth. True. This is Edward Cullen we're talking about. He never even paid attention to anyone till she came along, and she's just an average girl. Average, please. She's plain. She's a klutz, and she was so not worthy of him. She can't blame him for finally figuring that out. I heard he left after his family. He probably would have stayed if she was good enough. So they all knew I wasn't worthy either. Why was he the last to figure that one out? And why the hell couldn't he figure that out before we had sex? That just makes it harder right now. Guys, stop. Both Jess and Lauren just stared at Angela. She's going through a tough time, I'm sure, but she is a good person, and she loved him. If you have to gossip, find a bathroom or something, and give her some credit. Bella would never consider suicide. I was not the only one stunned. Jess and Lauren looked completely shocked by her proclamation. Honestly, I wasn't just stunned. I was touched. No one stuck up for me like that except for him, or at least he used to. And seriously, suicide? No way. Life sucks now, without him, and all, but there is no way I would ever consider that as an option. I walked into the first class. I don't remember what my teacher talked about. Actually, I don't remember which teacher or class it was. All my classes that morning went by in a haze. I was there, but not mentally. Mentally, I was still in my room, lying across my bed, thinking about all the things I wouldn't do again because they reminded me of him. I came out of my personal bubble to realize I was headed to lunch. Routine was too inertly grounded within me. I wouldn't have noticed, except for the fact that I ran into two people waiting in the lunch line. Immediately, I wanted to just die. I would need to eat something, but that wasn't what I was dreading. I would have to sit somewhere, and the stares I was already getting from my usual lunch table was unnerving. Mike looked wary, but excited. If he makes a move, I may stab him, or fall apart. All the girls, except Angela, were there, gossiping. I was trying to think of excuses to not be here, but it was raining hard and there were other classes going on. There was nowhere to hide. That's when my stomach felt like it was being twisted into a gourmet pretzel. I lurched out of line and walked briskly, but carefully, to the bathroom. Once in there, I ran to the handicap bathroom and threw up, yet again. I barely had time to shut the door before I was positioned in front of the toilet for the next 5 minutes. What is this? It can't just be him, can it? I thought about the last week's events, minus him. That's when it hit me. I should have started my period at least 3 days ago, but no. It wasn't possible. I couldn't be. There was no way I could possibly be. It's just a coincidence. My hand flew to my stomach without my permission, and there was a bump. A bump I couldn't remember having. I wasn't even sure if it was there this morning or not. I felt a nudge from the bump and slid down the door. I was leaning against. Rationality kicked in, telling me even if I was pregnant, there was no way I could feel it. Kick. I was maybe a few weeks at the most. There was no way. My brain going through other possibilities. Alien abduction? Doubtful, although vampires do exist. Parasite? From where? The woods that wouldn't make my stomach move on its own. Cancer? I wasn't that lucky. I knew what this was. I just had no idea how it was possible. It's his baby. Vampire speed has something to do with his, I'm sure. Damn vampires. The main door to the girls' room opened then. Bella, you in here? Angela questioned. Yeah, I'm here, I replied as I opened the door. Sure I was here, but where was here again? I was having trouble understanding what was happening within my own body, let alone outside it. Oh, you look not good. Are you sick? Maybe you should go home for the day and try again tomorrow. All I heard was go home. Home was where I needed to go. I could break down there and hopefully figure out what was going on here. Charlie was at work till 7. He would find out I left, but I didn't care. He still wouldn't be home till late. That gave me several hours to come to some conclusions. Angela walked me to my truck. She offered me a ride, but I didn't want to leave my truck or leave her stranded. Besides, I needed to pick up a few things. One thing at least, Angela offered to bring my homework again. But I told her I'd catch up tomorrow. Okay, we'll call if you need anything, Bella. I'm sorry for the others. I just mouthed thanks and drove away. I knew my destination, a small gas station about 1 mile from the county line. Charlie had no friends that worked there or even shopped there. I walked in and got what I was after. A pregnancy test. A $30 pregnancy test. I guess it was worth it for the insurance that Charlie wouldn't know. I had been sitting on my bathroom floor for about 3 minutes now. 2 more minutes and I would know for sure. Maybe. I mean, there's always a chance that these things are wrong, right? And if I am pregnant, it's a vampire's child. What are the odds that a pregnancy test designed for humans would detect that kind of pregnancy? That's when I realized it didn't matter. I knew I was pregnant. I could feel the nudging coming from my stomach as I was thinking. I keep finding myself stroking my bump absent-mindedly. I stood up, looked at the test. Well, you learn something new every day. Apparently, pregnancy tests, at least this one, could detect a vampire pregnancy. Super. I walked to my room with the evidence to hide and walked to the old rocking chair. Somehow, it seemed fitting to rock for a bit. I began stroking my bump again. It was hard as concrete. Stupid vampires. This baby was growing fast. Who knew when I'd give birth? Who knew how this baby would get out of me? Who knew how fast it would grow once it was out? Who knew if I would be around after it clawed its way out of me? Oh my God. I can't tell Charlie, Renee, anyone. I've got to leave. But how? Bella POV. 2 hours, 1 bowl of banana nut Cheerios, and 1 trip to the bathroom to throw up my Cheerios, and I still had no idea what to do. There is no way I could stay with Charlie like this. He's not blind, and since he left, he's actually become more observant. Just because I didn't notice the bump doesn't mean that he won't. He solves crimes for crying out loud. Granted, there's small-town crimes where teens steal a pack of cigarettes from the gas station or people scrap a car while parking and then drive away, but still, he's not slow. I figured no matter the events that came from this pregnancy, I still only had 3 possible outcomes as best. Outcome 1. I died. I wasn't really sure I could actually live through this birth, let alone without Carlisle. Outcome 2. I give birth to Super Baby. This thing is growing so fast, so quick. There was practically no chance that he or she would be normal. Just look at the father. This baby had to be gifted. Outcome 3. I somehow had to become immortal. How? I have no idea. It's not like I could call a vampire for help anymore. But still, I knew I ultimately needed to be special to take care of my baby. My baby. This baby was mine. I hadn't thought of that yet. I kept referring to it as his baby, or vampire baby, but it was just as much mine as it was his. Maybe even more so, since I would take care of him or her. I rubbed small circles over my bump. Every few moments I feel a nudge letting me know that this baby cared for me too. I already loved it. I did from the moment I found out. That must have been why I was stroking my bump all afternoon. I started thinking about my possible outcomes again. I didn't have a whole lot of time before Charlie would come home. I realized outcome 2 wasn't really a possibility. It was an absolute, my baby was special, just like its daddy. Calling him daddy make my heart not want to break as much. So I was left with 2 possible outcomes. Either I died or I lived forever. Surviving the birth human just didn't seem like a possibility. I decided I couldn't think of that right now. I had more pressing matters. How am I going to leave Charlie? There was no way I could stay, and the one other place I could go was Renee's. Again, that wasn't an option. I couldn't go to her for the same reasons I couldn't stay with Charlie. I really couldn't picture Charlie letting me go anywhere with how I'd been lately. Depressed, daughter leaves to go live across the country. Alone. Sure, I'm sure he'd go for that. Plus, I'm still in school, not that that would last for much longer, but I needed a way for him not to know that. Maybe a boarding school would serve as a cover. It seemed perfect, too perfect. I mean, school and housing built into one, all concerns would be halted right there. There had to be flaw, and unfortunately there were several. For one, boarding schools have tuition. A police chief in Forks cannot afford one, and technically I wouldn't actually need one, since I wouldn't actually be attending. Even a scholarship wouldn't ease that lie. Also, middle of the semester, like I said, Charlie's not stupid. Honestly, the only place Charlie would let me go is Renee's. I knew he felt he was in over his head with my mental state right now. He'd probably welcome that conclusion. But I couldn't actually go there. Charlie would be able to relinquish control, though. And I could probably have at least a good 6 months before he figured out I wasn't with her, if I told my lies correctly. I would also have to convince Renee that I was fine, that she didn't need to check up on me or call Charlie for answers. I walked down the stairs and got some fish out of the freezer, and then put it back before slamming the door. That smell could not be allowed to linger in this house, and it would if I cooked it. My stomach calmed and I decided meatloaf was safer. Charlie was a fan, and it would definitely make him more agreeable tonight. I was going to have to lie a lot. Fantastic. I wasn't exactly worthy of awards when it came to acting. 7:15 on the dot, and I heard the cruiser pull up. Here we go. Crap, the little nudger pushed at me as the door opened. I know, I'm scared too, I whispered so soft. Charlie couldn't have heard. Belle, are you here? Yeah, I'm here. Dinner should be ready in about 5 minutes, I called. He came in and just stared at me for a bit. I kept working, but it was making me more anxious, and I didn't want to lose my nerve. Dad, what are staring at? Did you not want meatloaf? I thought. He held up a hand to cut me off and opened his mouth to speak. No, I love meatloaf and it smells great. I just didn't think you'd be up to cooking. I was gonna order pizza or something. Thanks. Okay. I wanted to cook. He was already suspicious. I was going to have to really play along for a while. I set the table and then pulled out the meatloaf and vegetables I cooked. Charlie just sat there staring. My little nudger pushed me again, and I really had to try not to rub my bump in response. Dad, the food's gonna get cold. How was your day, Bells? When I drove by the school, I didn't see your truck. Great, he checked up on me. I had no idea when he would have driven by, so I couldn't really lie. If he caught the lie now, I would lose my confidence, and we needed to leave. School was school. I got really sick during lunch. I think I might have eaten something bad or something. Angela suggested I go home. I figured that was probably best. You didn't sign out, I got a call from Miss Cope. Figures. I knew I forgot something. But in my defense, I was a bit distracted by the thing growing inside of me. Yet, I couldn't claim that as an excuse. I forgot. Sorry. Well, please don't let it happen again. Ever since last week, it makes me nervous when I don't know where you are. Okay, I am sorry, Dad. But I actually started thinking when I got home. I paused. I was terrified of his reaction, but it was now or never. I think I'm gonna move back with Mom and Phil for a while. He blinked a few times, and his face turned whiter before he decided to speak. Well, Belle, if that's what you think you should do, I guess. I can understand that. Are you sure you don't want to wait till school is over, or do you really need to leave after this semester? I didn't miss the presumption. He was hoping I would stay till winter break. Crap. Actually, Dad, I was gonna leave sooner, like tomorrow. They have a few days off this week because of built-in hurricane days, and I just figured this way I wouldn't miss too much. Why so soon, though? Belle, I'm really gonna miss you. Why don't you think about it for a while? I have thought about it, Dad, and I'm gonna miss you too, more than you know. I can't even thank you enough for letting me live here. He started to open his mouth, but I stopped him. I needed to say all this if I wasn't gonna see him anytime soon. Maybe even ever. I don't want to leave you, but I just need a different place for a while, to get away from all this stuff. I'll call, I promise. He sat there for several minutes just thinking and staring. I was getting so nervous he didn't buy it. He's not going to let me leave. He'll call Renee and then I'm screwed. Charlie interrupted my internal freak-out with a calm voice. Okay, Bells, I guess since you're going to your mom's, it's okay. I'm really going to miss you, though. The food is going to suck without you, but I'll survive. When exactly are you leaving? Tomorrow morning. The school is off till Monday, so it gives me enough time to drive there. I couldn't believe he bought it. Thank goodness for my research on the Jacksonville School District website. Hurricane days, who knew? Then I saw his face. Uh-oh. You're gonna drive your truck to Jacksonville. I guess that was unrealistic, but I couldn't back out now. I would need my truck to go anywhere. I'm going to try. If it breaks down, I'll fly the rest of the way. I really love my truck. Plus you gave it to me. I don't want to leave it. He simply nodded. I played the mushy card, and he just let it rest. Thank goodness. I cleaned up the kitchen and went upstairs to pack. I also needed to call Renee. Bella? Oh my honey, how are you? I was actually expecting Charlie to call. I could tell she was hesitant to say anything else. Yeah, well, I figured it has been long enough since I called you last. How are you and Phil doing? I didn't want to arouse suspicion by jumping the gun and telling her I was totally fine. But she wasn't having any of it. Oh, we're fine. A little worried about you. How are you doing, baby? I'm doing a lot better. Truthfully, I was. I was still in pain over him, but I suddenly had something more important to think about. I started rubbing circles over my bump again as I continued. I can't really spend any more time dwelling on it now. Besides, my girlfriends are being really great. She had no idea how much that wasn't true. She still thought Jess was one of my best friends. Although, in truth, Angela had been great. She was just the only one. Oh, honey, that's good. I'm glad. You seem to sound worlds better. I had a feeling Charlie was overreacting. Good she brought it, although I wasn't exactly sure if I was happy about that. Part of me wanted my mom to know that I was having a baby. I could have really used her help, but that wasn't an option. We continued to talk about school and friends, but not him. I truly believe she was convinced. So after we hung up, I started packing. Mostly I just packed clothes and books. I had no desire for my music, but I did grab a few CDs and my CD player. I also took my letters from my mom and all my other necessities. I loaded my truck in the middle of the night while Charlie slept. I couldn't sleep, and I didn't want to waste time. It was going to be hard enough tomorrow morning when I had to say goodbye to him. Alice POV. I am not happy, Edward Cullen. Neither am I, Alice, Edward stated simply as he walked out the back door. I heard him start to run off towards Montreal. We were living in a small town in Vermont called Richfort, but our house was so close to the border, it wouldn't take more than about 15 minutes for Edward to reach Canada and begin the hunt he was determined to distract himself with. I swear my brother could be so stupid and masochistic. He didn't want to leave Bella, and he never should have. I know it's killing him. Idiot. I sat there on our white couch. It was so similar to the one we had in Forks you'd think it was the same one, but we just bought new stuff when we got here. We didn't have time to really pack much, since Edward had rushed us to move so forcefully, and we just couldn't change our preferences in decor. I had been sitting here for the past 4 hours with my legs crossed and arms folding, glaring any time Edward walked by. I had no intention to let him think he did the right thing by Bella, unlike the rest of them. It's not that they agreed with him, but they were willing to just ignore the fact for Edward's sake. Not me. I was fully intent on letting him know he was a complete dumbass for leaving her. Jasper could feel my conviction and came to sit by me. He knew I was not going to listen to whatever he had to say, but still, he felt better to sit by me than to busy himself with the rest of the family. Now that Edward had left, the rest of them had let their thoughts and emotions drift to Bella. Poor Jasper, all the grief and guilt was killing him. Even Rosie was feeling bad for Bella, although she was also feeling an obscene amount of relief for both Bella and our family. I swear I may have to rip her arm off and beat her with it if she tells Edward he did the right one more time. Jasper tensed around me then. He knew I was having a vision, and that I wouldn't respond, so he just tightened his grip on my shoulder to let me know he was there. I was seeing Bella. She was reading the note I left for her. She said my name and dropped the note suddenly, and then it was all gone. Bella had become so blurry after her birthday, and I had no idea why. Now it seemed I wasn't getting a clear read on her as well, just glimpses. I rarely saw anything except her face anymore. I had had 2 visions of her before Edward had us leave, and I am not thinking about them because of anticipation of his reactions. I saw he wouldn't take it well. He would hate the fact that I left a note for Bella. In fact, he would probably try to get the note back before she could find it. I can't let him do that. Bella needs what I left her. I don't why, but she does. Damn visions. Bella POV. Charlie had to leave for work by 9. I figured I would give myself a head start, since I really didn't know where I was going. I made us breakfast and packed some food for myself for the road. I still couldn't keep anything down, but I also didn't know when I would be able to eat either. I was ready to go by 8:30. Charlie tried to stall me. Why don't you leave this afternoon? I heard you working last night. You probably did enough sleep, and I don't want you falling asleep at the wheel. If he thought that was my biggest problem, I'll be fine, Dad. Don't worry. I have a list of hotels along the way, and the first is only about 7 hours from here. I'll call you in a couple days and let you know how the truck is holding up. Lying was starting to come out a lot easier. I was wearing loose clothes since nothing fit, and my bulky jacket. When I went to hug Charlie goodbye, I held my stomach back. He would definitely notice the concrete rock growing inside me. Bye, Bells. Drive safely. I'll miss you. Charlie called after me as I waved from the front cab. I started headed northeast. Not really paying attention. I still had no idea where to go, so it didn't really matter. I was just trying to head out of Forks. I passed the Carlisle River. I can't remember the last time I drove by that without it raining. I barely noticed the houses I passed. I didn't even notice where I was at first. But I knew the truck had stopped. I didn't remember turning into the ferns. I didn't remember turning down the winding road. I do remember that when I came to a stop. I got nudged from my sidekick. Apparently I needed to use a bathroom. The house looked exactly the same. No overgrown trees or brushes, and no paint flakes falling off the front door like I imagined. It looked just as pristine as the last time I was here. There really was no stopping me when it came to going inside. Mostly because it wasn't my decision. I needed their bathroom, and I knew where Renesmee used to hide an extra key. It wasn't under the welcome mat, or the eave, or even under a potted plant. Way too human for them. No, Renesmee hid the key in a bush, her now dormant poinsettia plant. Tied to the base, inside of all the branches, was the house key. I unlocked the door and ran to the bathroom right behind the kitchen. I took my time washing my hands. This was not a place I really wanted to be. I wasn't even sure why I was here. I walked out slowly. The house looked too much the same. Only a few pieces were gone that I noticed while walking around the first floor. Some empty spots were on the wall where artwork and pictures used to hang. I noticed the dining room table they never used was gone as well. But other than a few other antique pieces that I knew Esme loved, everything was the same, except for the plastic sheets covering every piece of cloth furniture. So they really didn't need this stuff. They had no problem leaving it behind, just like me. Before I knew it, I was headed to second floor. I stopped myself before I reached the next flight of stairs. I couldn't go to his room, not now. Instead, I wandered into Alice and Jasper's room. I never actually spent any time in here. I think I felt awkward since it was their shared room. I probably wouldn't have cared if it was just Alice's. Besides, we rarely left the living room, or his room, when I was around. I was surprised how different the room was compared to how I had envisioned it. I imagined something similar to his. Basic colors, maybe browns, blacks, and whites. I obviously pictured a bed. Just because they didn't sleep didn't mean they didn't have a use for it. I figured there would be fashion magazines and Civil War memorabilia scattered everywhere. Possibly a computer desk, since Alice always had something to plan. But it was bright, full of happy colors, reds and blues and greens. There was a bed, and it had the most beautiful soft green bedspread on it. There were a dozen oversized pillows that took up half the bed at least. There was a bedside table on each side. It was obvious which side was which. Alice's had a picture of the family, including me, and a copy of the Teen Vogue's prom issue. There was also a notebook full of sketches. Jasper's side was spotless except for the picture of Alice in a frame. I'm sure she picked out. Gold with tiny hearts all over it. Wasn't exactly his style. Still, I'm sure he loved it. The room was practically bare besides the bed and tables. That's when I saw it. Double doors, cracked barely an inch apart. Alice's holy grail. Haha. Her closet. It stretched out in front of me and was probably the size of 2 of her bedrooms. Actually, it probably was another bedroom. She must have made Esme demolish the wall. Even though it was obvious that she had taken clothes with her when they left, she still left the closet more than half full. I walked by touching all the fabric, reveling in the scent of my lost sister. In the last section of her closet near a window was something I didn't expect. Closets don't have windows. She must have turned into a closet from a bedroom. There was a huge trunk, not that unusual, with an envelope on top addressed to me. That's unusual. It's her handwriting. But why would she leave me a note here? I didn't know I was coming her till I drove up. I don't know if I want to read this. If it had been from him, I probably would have turned around and left. Maybe. I'm sure I wouldn't want to hear that he didn't want me. But who am I kidding? I am a curious person. How else would you explain me following him around when he kept telling me he was dangerous? I never had a reason to not trust Alice, and I'm sure she only left without a goodbye because of him. So what do I have to lose? I opened the letter and began to read. Bella, I'm so sorry that my brother can be such an idiot. Scratch that. He's a complete dumbass for leaving you. Believe me, when I tell you, he will regret it. In fact, he already does. He just won't admit it yet. I'm not sure if you'll find this note. I'm about 86% positive you will. I know uncertainty is a rarity for me, but I'm having difficulty seeing you now. I have no idea why, and I'm not allowed to talk or think about you right now, so I can't discuss the possible reasons. But I am seeing glimpses, very confusing for me, mind you. First, I see that we will meet again, but I have no idea when or where. Second, I see that you need my help, or rather, you need things I can provide. I don't know why you need this stuff, but you know I'd do anything for you. So here is your big box of goodies. I know you'll need money too, so I left some petty cash at the bottom. But in case you get into real trouble, there's a credit card too. I know you will never use it. I don't need my visions to tell me that. But if you ever get into trouble or need me, use it. I'll find you. I promise. And don't worry, he doesn't know any of this. None of them do. I don't know why you'll need this stuff, but I know you'll be okay somehow. I'm sorry I didn't say goodbye. Remember, you are my sister. Alice. By the way, blood's in the fridge. Why you need that? I'll never know. Oh, Alice. I felt my nudger push against me again and dropped the note. I almost forgot about him. How could I? It's okay. We're okay. Auntie Alice is gonna help, I guess. I laughed as I lifted the lid of the trunk. Why would I need blood? The trunk was completely stuffed. On top were countless pairs of lounge pants and jogging suits. I'm surprised she actually approved of this. She would never let me wear this stuff before. I pulled out each piece and examined it. At least I could make do with this stuff. I was running out of pants that fit me. Under the pants was a copy of Romeo and Juliet. Why would I need this? I have a copy. I opened it up and saw my name in the left corner, right next to the binding. It was my copy. I must have left it here one day. Under that was a CD. It looked like the one he gave me and then took back. I pushed it to the side. I couldn't think of that right now. I saw the credit card and pulled it out next. She's right, I'll never use this. But it was nice to have the option to see Alice again. There was a folder standing on the inside of the trunk. When I opened it, I was shocked. So this is how they live in the world. There were several blank legal documents, along with several copies of each: passports, licenses, birth certificate, death certificates. They were all there, just waiting for a picture and some personal information. Does she really not know why I would need this stuff? 'Cause I'm drawing a blank here? I saw a couple of keys on the bottom as well. One was antique looking, like one you would find to open a castle. It had curves and circles throughout the top. I had no idea what it was for, but then again, I wasn't sure what a lot of this was for. The other key was easy identifiable. It was a car key with the logo of BMW on it. Okay, I don't think I'm using this key. I saved the cash for last. I knew it wasn't going to be a small amount, and from the looks of it, I wasn't wrong. I picked up the bundle only to realize it was twice the size I thought it was, and the majority of it was large bills. I was hoping for ones and fives, not hundreds. I counted it twice. I had to be wrong. Oh my God! Seriously? $350,000? $350,000? This is not petty cash. Then again, I guess anything less than $500,000 was nothing to the Cullens. I put everything back in the box and flipped the latch to close it. Oh my God! Bella POV. I woke up surrounded by soft green pillows. I guess the few minutes to think turned into a nap. Whoops! I looked for a clock, but there was nothing in the room of the sort. Vampires probably don't need them. Either that or they just wear watches. I pulled out my cell phone and saw it was 1:23 a.m. Oh, not a nap, more like a coma. The baby must have decided it was time for me to awake, because my stomach was getting nudged about every minute. After I went to bathroom, I started to descend the stairs. I was really getting hungry since I hadn't eaten anything since I left Charlie's. That already felt like a lifetime ago. But I wasn't in a regular home where people eat food all the time to survive. I was at the Cullens, and they weren't even here to fake being human with their props. I still headed to the kitchen. At the very least, I could get a drink of water. My throat was feeling dry. I don't remember the last time it felt like that, like I hadn't drunken anything in days. After 4 glasses, my throat still felt unquenched, but I really didn't want to keep drinking. I would have to make multiple stops to the restroom now anyways. I started opening up cabinets and drawers, mainly out of curiosity. I figured it was impolite to snoop, but they were gone. They left me. Why should I care about common courtesy now? All the dishes and silverware were accounted for. I guess that makes sense. They don't use them anyways. I walked over to the pantry and opened the door. Holy crow, food. The entire pantry was full of food. Cereal, canned soup, cake mixes, bread, peanut butter, and jelly, canned vegetables. It was full of all the instant food I loved for when I used to come over, so he didn't have to take me home for meals. Damn, that was close. Almost thought his name. I grabbed a can of chicken noodle. Comfort food sounded good right about now. I watched it heat in the microwave. I had no patience for the stove right now. Quick and radioactive, please. I started remembering the letter and what Alice wrote. Blood's in the fridge. Why you need that? I'll never know. And she expected me to know. I opened the fridge and there was a ton of blood in plastic bags, the kind hospitals use. There had to be about 30 or 40 bags. It completely filled the fridge, except for the one tiny spot in the door that had a half-gallon of milk that was expiring in a few days. What could I use that much blood for? Alice has lost it this time. I shut the fridge door and went to retrieve my soup. After the first few bites, my belly stopped doing flips. I hadn't even realized it was so constant till it stopped. Hungry too, huh? I rubbed my bump while I ate my soup. Afterwards, I washed the bowl and spoon with water. I figured it was too late to actually go anywhere. Plus, I had no idea where to go. I knew I couldn't stay here forever, but a few days couldn't hurt, right? I mean, it was only my heart that would break when I actually left this place, when I left the rest of him behind. But my heartache wasn't as devastating since I realized I was pregnant. It was like I had a reason to keep going now. I was still miserable, and I missed him. But I couldn't hate him when he gave me my little nudger, could I? I needed to be strong for this baby. I would love him and our baby forever, whether he wanted me or not. I hadn't even realized I was walking, let alone walking up the stairs. I was standing in front of his door, and I was absolutely frozen. I don't know. Do I want to see what it looks like now? Would it be better or worse if everything was the same? I couldn't answer my own question because I had no idea. It would hurt if everything had vanished, because then it would be like he really was gone and never coming back. But if everything was there, then it is like he didn't want the stuff, just like he didn't want me, but I wanted him. I still want him. He should be here. And he should. He should know he's a father. Just because you're not in love with the mother doesn't make you uninvolved. But he had no clue I was a mother, just like he didn't know he was father. I couldn't blame him for not knowing, could I? Go in or not? That was the question. All my stalling was really changing it. A nudge put my hand on the doorknob. Okay, we'll go in. It was exactly the same. All the books, CDs, they were all there. The couch and carpet looked like they were just waiting for him to come home and need comfort. It was like he never left. Of course, that wasn't true. I sat on that couch for at least a few hours, but it felt like days. I just stared around the room. There were no gaps in the shelves. Every CD and book was there. He didn't need or want any of them. He loved music and he loved his books. I was dumbfounded. I couldn't sit there anymore. It was just too painful. I wandered around the house some more and found myself in front of Rose and Emmett's room. Another room I did not frequent, but for a completely different set of reasons. For one, Rose hated me, and I wasn't keen on her either since she didn't attempt to hide her feelings. Second, I had no desire to accidentally witness their activities. The jokes Emmett told were about all I could take on the subject. And third, why would I spend time with them in here when I had him? All of those reasons were stupid, especially the third. At least now. I walked inside, politeness be damned. What was Rosie gonna do to me now? The room looked like how I expected Alice's room to look. The colors varied in whites and browns with some blue pillows on the bed to add some color. The color scheme was very simple and pure. I should have been surprised, but I wasn't. Somehow, I always figured that Rose liked simple things when it came right down to it. She just lived up to people's expectations, hence the flashy clothes and car. The only things left in the room were a bed and a metal trash can, which was filled with crumbled pieces of paper and something else. It looked like a frame, so I went to pick it up. It was a family photo, the same one that was in Alice's room. She had a family photo with me in her room. Why? There were no mustaches or black eyes drawn over me, like I would have expected. I put the frame back in the trash can. Searching their house was only leading to more questions. I went down the hall to Carlisle's study. His room was the one with the most missing pieces. The artwork was gone, which wasn't surprising since it was basically his history. His desk was gone too. It was antique, so he probably couldn't bear to part with it. The only thing left was a wide filing cabinet. It was styled in the same way his desk used to be, but obviously more modern, probably custom-made to match the desk. I walked over to the piece of furniture. When I tried to open it, it wouldn't budge, and then I noticed the keyhole. It looked familiar. The key. I ran to Alice's room and pulled everything out of the trunk, looking for the antique-looking key she left. Once I found it, I ran back to Carlisle's study. I wasn't sure what I was hoping to find. Alice certainly wasn't giving me much to work with, but I had faith that something would come from being here in their house that would let me know what to do. I inserted the key. I knew it. It was absolutely for the filing cabinet. I turned the key and opened the first drawer. There were just empty files with random names, none of which I recognized. The second drawer had medical supplies, scalpels, needles, IVs, and a lot of stuff I didn't recognize. The last drawer was next, and I suddenly felt a nudge. I know, we'll eat soon. I opened the drawer and saw several metal syringes. What the hell? I picked one up and saw the titanium imprint. That seems unnecessary. I turned the syringe over so I could read the label. Jasper. I picked up the next one, Rosieri. They all had their names on them. Alice, Emmett, Esme, Carlisle, him. What are these? There was a sticky note under the fourth syringe that simply said one word, venom. As in their venom. As in what spreads when they bite you. Oh my God. That was it. That was my answer. But still, it only led to more questions. Mela POV 3 weeks later. Why isn't this grossing me out? I was finishing my second blood bag of the morning. I had been drinking blood for the past week and a half, and I was barely thinking about it anymore. At first, I was horrified that the red liquid looked tempting. I wasn't sure why Alice left me blood. I was actually starting to think that maybe it was there in case I lost too much blood giving birth. But did she think I'd be able to handle that myself? Flashback. I spent 20 minutes staring at the first bag I took out of the fridge, just contemplating the reasons the blood was alluring to my senses. It smelled tasty. It still had the smell of salt and rust, but it didn't turn my stomach as much. But it still looked like blood. I felt a nudge. Oh, this is what you need. Do I have two? Another nudge. Okay, hint taken. I poured it into a blue ceramic mug, large enough to hold an entire can of soup. But the baby didn't want soup. The baby didn't want any human food. In fact, the baby was pretty stubborn about that. Anytime I even had one bite of human food, I threw up. I thought about heating the blood up, but that just seemed way too weird. Does it really matter? Either way, I'm drinking blood. But if it will help the baby. I took one sip, if you can call it that, and then followed with a large gulp. It didn't taste bad, maybe a little salty. I held my nose so I couldn't smell it, and that seemed to really help. I drank the whole mug in 10 minutes and felt my baby doing twists and flips in my stomach. I think we need to learn to communicate better. We could have saved some time if I had known that all you wanted was blood. End flashback. I really didn't care about the smell anymore. It was like the baby was in charge of my senses, overpowering them so I could get him or her what he or she needed. I had gained quite a belly in the past 3 weeks. I probably looked like I was in my 8th or 9th month. I knew the baby would be coming soon, and I had a plan. Unfortunately, I needed help with my plan. I was pretty confident that I could take care of myself, but I wouldn't be able to take care of my little nudger during that time. I had been going through my options over the last 2 days. Charlie and Renee weren't even on my list to be considered. I had been talking to them about every 3 or 4 days to keep them from becoming suspicious. But beyond my phone communication, I really couldn't contact them anymore, probably ever. Jacob Black was a good kid, but I didn't really know him too well. Plus, he would definitely get suspicious since he was fully aware of the legends concerning the Cullens. Whether he believed them or not probably wouldn't matter when he saw me drinking blood. He would probably just end up telling Billy, and then Charlie would know too. He wasn't an option. My friends from Forks were human and needed to be left in the dark for their own safety. And it's not like Jessica Stanley can be trusted with a secret. I could use the credit card that Alice gave me. I knew she would come back and help. She promised to. But I don't think I want her to know. She'd tell him, even if she didn't want to. She couldn't keep it from him for long with his stupid power. No, there has to be someone else. I started going through my cell phone menu. Black, Billy, he's practically the chief of the tribe. Not a choice. Black, Jacob. I don't know him well enough. Cheney, Ben, definitely don't know him well enough. Clearwaters, Charlie's friends. Yeah, right. Crawley, Tyler, no way. Dwyer, Phil. Nope. Dyer, Renee, like I said, no. Cullen home, well, I'm here already, and I'm the only one here, so that's no help. Forks home, Charlie, that's a no. Forks police station, again, Charlie can't know. Jacksonville home, Mom, no. Mallory, Lauren, Newton, Mike, he'd never leave. I'd be stuck with him forever. Stainsley, Jess. The whole town would know before the baby was even out. Swan, Charlie, no, Charlie. Weber, Angela. I didn't even get to the last name, Eric Yorkie. Angela is my only option. She would never tell anyone. She could take care of my baby for a few days. She has siblings, but can I ask that of her? I didn't have a whole lot of other options. In fact, she was it. I could at least ask. Ring, ring, ring. Hello? Angela's quiet voice was tentative. She probably didn't expect to hear from me. Angela, hey, it's Bella. Wow. Hey, Bella. How are you? This is going to be difficult. She's already suspicious. I'm pretty okay. I hate to call just to ask you something, but I need a favor. Angela, did I lose her, or did she hang up on me? I'm here. I don't know how I can help you. You moved to Florida, right? Not exactly. I'm still in Forks, kinda. The Cullens' house was technically out of Forks' city limits. Could you meet me somewhere? Okay, where do you want to meet? Thank God. Do you remember where the Cullens lived? She gasped. I guess that was worth a gasp. I was still a little stumped myself. Yeah, when do you want me to come? The sooner the better. And Angela, can you not tell anyone? Especially Lauren and Jess. I guess I was just asking for favor after favor now. Sure, I wouldn't tell them anyways. I'll come by in about an hour. Okay? That's great. Thanks, Angela. Bye, Bella. Bye. I sat on the white couch, waiting for Angela to come. I had taken off the plastic sheets a while ago. I was wearing a pair of lime green drawstring pants, and a large Arizona sweatshirt that hid my belly a bit with its bagginess. I was so anxious, I just kept picturing Angela seeing my belly and running away, screaming. Maybe she would have the reaction he was so sure that I should have had when I learned the truth about vampires. But I wasn't going to tell her anything about vampires. I didn't want to put her life in danger or fill her mind with fear. If I could have called anyone else, I would have. I didn't want. Knock, knock. I felt the baby jump from the sound, just like me. Okay, now or never. Bella? She seemed hesitant and maybe curious. Oh, just wait. Come on in, Angela. She walked in and sat on the other side of the couch. She couldn't see me belly with the angle I was sitting at. Plus I had a pillow on my lap. Bella, you still look a little sick. Are you okay? Actually, I'm a little more than sick, Angela. Please hear me out, and don't freak, okay? Okay. I stood up, and she was already widening her eyes. I lifted up my sweatshirt so she could see my belly. She gasped once. I'm sure because she realized I was pregnant. Then she gasped again. I had a lot of bruises from the baby kicking and nudging me. She was probably concerned. The third gasp signaled that she was putting it all together. Bella, oh my. I sat back down, covering my belly with my sweatshirt again. Yeah, I'm pregnant. Wow, but I just saw you like 3 weeks ago. You didn't have that then. Not the belly, no. But I was pregnant. I just didn't know it yet. Well, actually, I figured it out that day. But I was getting distracted, and I needed to focus. I know this is a lot, and I wouldn't have dragged you in this if I had anyone else. But I need your help. No one knows. Not even your dad? No, I can't tell him. How are you this pregnant? I can't really explain that to you. I'm not too clear on that myself. I think it's better if you don't know everything, though. I didn't want to bring you into this world, but I don't have anyone else. Is it? I mean, it's his, right? Do I look like a girl who is going to sleep around? Yeah, it's his. I started rubbing my belly. It had become habit that any time I was thinking of him, I would start stroking my belly. Does he know? She seemed a little mad. She was probably accusing him of ditching when he found out. No, I didn't know until after he left. Wow, she was in shock, but at least she wasn't running. What can I do? Relief washed over my entire body as I relaxed at her question. Thank you, Angela. I know I'm going to have this baby soon, real soon, and I'm going to be going through some things for a few days. I can't take care of the baby during that time. I was hoping that maybe you could just watch him or her for a few days for me. I promised I wouldn't ask if I had any other options. I was beginning to panic when Angela shook her head. Yes, sure, I can do that. Thank you. I leaned over to hug her. It was probably the first time I had ever hugged Angela, but I didn't care. You have no idea how much this means to me, how much this helps me. It's fine, Bella, don't worry. I'll take care of. Is it a boy or girl? I'm not sure, I can't really go to a doctor. We both laughed without humor for that comment. Sometimes I think it's a girl, but then I think it's a boy. Other times, I guess I'll find out soon enough. But it definitely has a lot of personality. Any ideas for names? I don't really want to call it baby or little one for a few days, if you got an alternative. She was taking it well, but I could see the panic in her eyes. She was probably processing the supernatural possibilities, since I seemed a full term after only 3 weeks. All her words were choppy, like her brain was on a time delay. But still, she wasn't running away. She was trying to help. I'm not sure I was thinking of Renesmee for a girl. It's a combination of my mother's name and his mother's name. That's really pretty. What about for a boy? That I'm having a bit of a hard time with. I'm split between naming him after his father or my father. I'm not sure. I just don't know if I can bear to call the name Edward for his entire life. Especially if my baby is going to live forever, I added in my head. I was having an easier time saying his name, especially if it was associated with the baby, but still, his name would always remind me of him. So Charlie or Edward. They're both good names. Yeah, they are. Maybe I can use them both, middle names or some... Ah! Oh my god. I felt tearing to a degree that rivaled vampire venom in my system. Bella? Bella? Angela's voice was full of panic, but I couldn't concentrate on anything but the pain I was feeling and the fear I had for my baby. No, it's too soon, Angela doesn't know enough. Bella, what's going on? What can I do? The baby, he's coming. I need to get up to Carlisle's study. The pain was piercing, no tearing. It felt like my body was being taken apart. All of my muscles and joints were being severed from my bones and tendons. I thought I would just burst into pieces at any moment. Okay, let's go. Angela grabbed my arm and draped it over her shoulders and took me up the stairs. I pointed to the door and she helped me inside. I had laid down a large sheet from Rosalia's bed a few days ago. I figured it was the best location to go through my transformation with the supplies so close. Angela must have assumed from the sight that that was what I had planned. So she helped me to lay down on the sheet. I was clutching my belly, which felt like it would break apart from my body any moment now. The syringes. Put them here. I had laid out 2 of the syringes on top of the cabinet. I knew it was my only chance, but I needed to wait till the baby was out. After that, I wasn't sure how much time I would have. Bella, what can I do? There was so much I hadn't told her, but my thoughts were barely lining up at this point. Take the baby when she's out. There's stuff in the green room. Angela? Yeah? Don't come back into the room. Just stay in the house. There's a pitcher in the fridge. It looks gross, but that's for the baby. He needs to eat it. I just hope that she didn't question the blood too much. Most people would. Angela POV. Oh my god, she's going to die. They're both going to die. What am I supposed to do? I don't know what to do. Bella, her head fell back and her stomach twitched. I had no clue how to help her, but I just started to do compressions on her heart. I felt her heartbeat, but it was faint. I went to breathe for her, but as I was leaning in, I saw her mouth full of blood. I tipped her head to the side and watched as the blood poured out. I blew 3 quick breaths into her mouth and went back to continue the compressions. When I saw her stomach, her belly was split down the center, covered in bloody gore, and there was a tiny baby sitting up against the wall of her torso. She was covered in blood, but she was beautiful. Her eyes caught mine, and she looked scared and worried. She looked past me to Bella, and I started compressions again. Her heartbeat was barely there, and I was panicking. I looked around for anything to help when I saw the syringes. She never said what they were for, but they had to help somehow. I certainly didn't see how they could harm the situation any more than this. I grabbed on the syringes and shot it right into her left thigh like an EpiPen. After a second, Bella's eyes opened and she coughed up more blood. Then she looked from me to her baby girl. Renesmee. Build POV. I was swimming in the darkness, trying to fight my way out. This wasn't part of the plan. I had a job to do. I had a responsibility to my baby. I felt a pinch followed by a shot of pure fire coursing through my leg. I opened my eyes and coughed up blood to see a scared-to-death Angela holding one of the syringes to my thigh. I looked around. I needed to wait till the baby was out before I took the venom. That was the plan. That's when my eyes caught it. A little wonderful baby sitting up in my open belly. I would have passed out from the sight if not for the perfect little girl staring at me. Her eyes were wide with concern. It's okay. We'll be okay, I whispered for her, and she smiled, but concern still shined in her eyes. Take her, Angela. I'll be fine, I yelled more forcefully. Angela picked her up and ran from the room. She must have been terrified. I took the next syringe and plunged it straight into my heart. I had no idea if that place was any better or worse, but instinct took over. In some way, I was hoping it would all be over with that shot, that I would just cease to exist and the pain would end. But it didn't, and the largest part of me, my heart and soul, begged me to fight back, to fight for her, for my Renesmee. She needed me. She looked so worried and scared watching me go through this pain. I needed to be strong for her. The fire intensified and spread throughout my entire body. I felt like I was strapped to a pyre. I screamed once, letting everything come out. I will not scream again. I swore to myself I couldn't do that to them. They were scared enough. I needed to protect my baby and Angela from this. They couldn't know this pain. It felt like hours, but it was probably closer to mere minutes. The fire burned every layer of my being, and I just wanted to cry out in pain more. But I was determined not to. I could feel my fingers twitching. I needed a distraction, so I ran my fingers over my belly. It was still split, but the opening felt smaller than I remembered it. I slid my fingers up to my heart and felt the wet stickiness, but no indentation from the venom shot. I slid my fingers back to my stomach, and the opening was nearly half the size it was merely a few seconds ago. It's working. I'm healing. I'm changing. Reality was beginning to mix with my hallucinations, caused by the pain and fire I was experiencing. I was only sure they were hallucinations because of what they contained. Edward. He was there talking to me. Be strong, Bella. Hold on for me. For our daughter. I know it's bad. It's horrendous. I'm so sorry. Please. Just hold on. Please forgive me for this. I love you. It was stupid to believe. He told me everything to negate that last statement before he left. But it was all I had, so I listened. I tried to believe. I focused on his voice to get me through it. He followed me though the pain, even into the darkness that I was entering. Angela Piova. I shut the door to the study and looked into my arms. Bella's baby was staring at me. Every emotion on her face looked out of place on a small child, let alone on a newborn. She was obviously special, but it was more than that. There was some paranormal aspect to these circumstances. Bella was pregnant for maybe 4 weeks, and her daughter looked a few months old, already after a few minutes. Someone here wasn't normal, and my money was on Edward. His family screamed, not normal. Everyone figured they were just plastic surgery addicts or testing some special drugs that made you gorgeous beyond human expectations. Apparently everyone was headed in the wrong direction. It was something mystical, something otherworldly. Maybe Bella fell in love with an angel. I walked down the hall looking for the green room, as she called it. I shuddered when I heard Bella scream out, but I kept walking. I promised to take care of her daughter, and she asked me not to return to that room. I needed to take care of her baby. I walked into the first room by the stairs and saw a green bedspread. It had to be it. There was a stack of blankets, sheets, and old clothes on the bed. I figured she didn't have diapers, and it appeared I was correct. Some of the sheets could be turned into cloth diapers, I guess. My parents had used them for the twins for a few months before it overwhelmed them and they went straight to disposables. I walked into the adjoining bathroom to clean Renesmee up. She was still staring up at me, but now she looked tempted, like she wanted to try something but was truly thinking it out. I figured she was just scared. This was traumatic, but I wouldn't think a newborn would recognize that. I looked down at her. It's okay, little girl. It's okay. Your mama's gonna be fine. She promised me she would be. I'm Angela. I'm gonna take care of you till she's feeling better. Let's clean you up. She had no idea what I was saying, but it seemed that my tone relaxed her. She shifted closer to my chest as I walked to the countertop. I pulled a couple of towels from the shower rod and laid them on the counter. I grabbed a washcloth and laid her down to start rinsing her off. See, we'll get you cleaned up so you'll be all ready for when your mama comes back. She'll be so excited to see you again, Renesmee. She locked eyes with me and stared. Wow, she's so expressive. Her face was defined, almost like a toddler's. She moved her arms and hands and seemed to point at me and then smiled. I shook my head. Too weird. Just a coincidence. I continued to rub the dried blood from her body, and then lifted her with one arm under the faucet to rinse her hair out. She shivered at first and then relaxed in my arm again. She had natural, beautiful curls, but as the water washed the red out, I saw her natural color. Bronze. Just like Edward. She certainly did resemble him. You do look like your parents. I wrapped her in a towel and continued to dry her hair. I placed her on the bed and tore one of the sheets to make a more reasonably sized cloth diaper. I wrapped it around her and fastened it with a safety pin that was holding up one of my belt loops. I didn't have time to mend it before I left the house this morning. I looked through the clothes on the bed. They looked like they were for a person about the size of Alice Cullen. I figured anything was better than letting this poor angel baby freeze. I found the smallest shirt I could find, which was a red short-sleeved top, probably meant for sleeping or lounging around the house. Because of its tight, skimpy fit, I held it over Renesmee as she tried to grab the material. Well, it's definitely too big, but it looks like your arms and legs will be free in it. What do you think? Again, she seemed to smile at me. Okay, now I'm sure I saw that. I pulled the shirt over her head and tucked her into a blanket. There, all clean and cozy. I picked Renesmee up and cradled her in my arms as I walked down the stairs to the kitchen. She is such a beautiful baby, an angel. I walked into the kitchen and saw the pantry door open. There was a ton of food, mostly soup, but at least it appeared I would be able to eat while I was here. Crap. Bella said she'd be a few days. What was I supposed to tell my parents? It was Friday, and I had been to school before Bella called. So that was fine, but a few days without returning home, I pulled out my cell phone and gently rocked Renesmee in my arms to keep her calm. I hit dial and waited for Mom or Dad to answer. Hello? It was Joshua. Great. He brought anything I told him. Josh, can you tell Mom and Dad that I'm spending the weekend at Jess's? She wants to go shopping, and I promised He cut me off before I had a chance to add more backstory. Okay. I'll tell them. I don't care, though. I don't need to know your plans. He was getting into that preteen annoying stage lately. Yay for me. Okay, tell them I got clothes, and I'll go to school with Jess on Monday. She needs a ride. My parents couldn't stand Jessica. There was no way they'd call her to check, and Jess had already mentioned going to Seattle for the weekend with Lauren. Fine, bye. Joshua hung up before I could respond. I put my cell phone back in my pocket and looked down at Renesmee. Well, that was easy. Now, what can we get for you? You must be hungry. Your mom said something about a pitcher. I opened up the door and saw 2 large pitchers containing what looked to be fruit punch. Thick fruit punch. I pulled one of the pitchers out and looked for a bottle. No diapers, probably no bottles either. I was right, but I did find a smaller cup and some straws. This will do, I guess. I turned the pitcher's lid so I could pour and gasped at the smell. That smells like blood. She wants me to feed her baby blood. Is she insane? Blood? I whispered as I looked at Renesmee, who appeared to be sniffing the air deliberately. I trusted that Bella knew what she was talking about, but this, giving blood to her baby, to eat, maybe Angel was wrong, maybe I was dealing with something else. Vamp? No, not a possibility. Right? I looked to Renesmee, who seemed to be reaching for the pitcher. Maybe I pushed the thought away and decided that I would continue to follow Bella's instructions. It was her baby, after all. I poured about a pint of blood into the small cup and placed a straw into it. Gross. I held the straw to Renesmee's lips, and she sniffed again and then immediately starting sipping without restraint. Really gross. Bella POV. Early Monday morning. I had been running for miles, although it was probably more like tens of miles. My legs were quite a bit faster now. I wasn't sure what I was looking for. I knew hunting was a priority, but it wasn't in the forefront of my mind at the moment. I was still holding my breath. I had been since I jumped out of the 2-story window. Normally the height would have scared me, but my senses were so alert that I just jumped without thinking. The minute I hit the ground, I took off like a newborn vamp out of hell. I slowed down a bit. I was probably in Canada by now. The smells from the house were still sizzling in my memory. I had smelled blood, and it smelled delicious. I knew it was human, and then I realized it was a human. I knew, or at least one I was friends with, and one that I desperately wanted to meet again, without the gore. I didn't want to hurt them. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I opened up my senses and smelled the air around me. No humans, but something. It had to be some animal. It smelled like an animal. It didn't smell delicious, maybe, a little bland. Still, it smelled like food, smelled like blood. I knew hunting would reduce the bloodlust that was creeping up into the front position in my mind, but I had no idea how to hunt. I always figured one of them would be here to help me, but they weren't anymore. I had to do it on my own. They never let me tag along during their hunting trips. He always said it was too dangerous, and that it was pure suicide. Whatever, here I am, not knowing what to do, and it's all his fault. Emmett was the only one who actually ever talked about hunting with me. I think he only did it first, because it ticked him off. Flashback. It's so cool, Bella. Hunting's awesome. You'll find out someday. I wouldn't bet against Alice. Emmett whispered the last part while watching Alice and Edward fight over some vision she had had. I couldn't help but laugh. I felt bad for Alice. She didn't choose her visions, but Edward didn't care. He always wanted to change them, at least lately. They continued to argue, but took it outside, away from human ears. Everyone else could hear them, even if they left the property. You really think I'll actually become one of you someday with him, so determined against it? I certainly was having doubts. Totally. Alice sees it. Besides, you absolutely have to come hunting with us. I'll teach you how to take down a bear. I laughed at his enthusiasm. I really wanted to see them hunting. I could picture them gracefully pouncing on animals left and right before draining the blood. I'm sure it was frightening, but I also imagined that it was beautiful. I couldn't think of anything they could ever do as unbeautiful. What's it like? Hunting, I mean. I knew Edward would get furious that I asked, and probably even more furious if Emmett answered. But I honestly wanted to know, especially if I would be hunting myself someday. Emmett cracked a huge smile. You know I'm not supposed to tell you about that. I won't tell him. He won't need you to tell him. He'll know because of his freaking mind reading. So you won't tell me? I didn't say that. Emmett's smile grew all the way to his ears. He'll be mad, but I'm used to broody Edward. That doesn't bother me. You have a right to know. I nodded, encouraging him to continue. When we hunt, get given to our instincts. It's animalistic, but it's what we need to do to survive. That's why I try to make it fun. You know, make bets about who can catch the most animals, or try and fight a bear, or four. He laughed, and I couldn't help but join in. Imagining Emmett fighting a bear, or even 4 bears, made me laugh. Most people would probably be scared to death, either for him or the bears. But after seeing him so eager to fight anyone and anything, I figured it was probably an interesting sight. How do you know what to do? I didn't really think my question out, but I was curious. Well, I said that your instincts take over, or rather, your vampire instincts. It's our built-in made, created, whatever. You've seen our strength, our speed, and our senses, but you've only seen a fraction of what we can do. I tried to interrupt, tried to explain what Edward had shown me that day when he was trying to convince me that he was dangerous, but Emmett just nodded and continued. I know what Edward has showed you, and trust me, that's just the tipping point. We have more power in our bodies than we actually need. When we leave to hunt, it's because we tune everything else out. We can barely differentiate between animal and human blood when we're in that zone. That's why we go to secluded locations where humans won't go. When we get a whiff of the blood, we kinda go into like a trance. It's crazy. I can barely notice Rose when I smell a bear near me. We both laughed, and I could tell he was trying to lighten the mood. We feel the draw to our prey, like we're getting pulled to it. You don't even need to think about it, Bella. It just happens. The impulse comes over you, and you just bite and drink. It just happens. Like it's involuntary? Yeah, that's a good description. Yeah, it just makes sense, and your body needs it, so you just do it. Emmett started laughing, probably at the phrase, do it. Then his laughter intensified when he saw my blush. Geez, Bella, you're such a crack-up. I desperately was trying to change the subject back. So is that why Edward won't let me go? Because he's afraid no one will stop? Yeah, he has a point, though. You out there, with all of us. It really isn't safe. But soon you'll be one of us, and then you can whoop his ass if he tries to stop you. I can't wait to see that. He burst out in another round of laughter. Edward came back in, looking quite frustrated. Obviously, Alice said more of the things he didn't like to hear. He put his arms around me and then glared at Emmett. I put my hand on his cheek to make him look at me. Don't be mad, I asked. His face softened, but he still wouldn't smile. I'll take you home. Okay. I knew I didn't really have a choice. I'll talk to you later, Emmett, he said, it so softly. I barely heard. I grabbed Edward's hand and put my hand back to his cheek. Stop. Don't be mad at him. Or Alice. Just be here. With me. Happy. He smiled. Then I knew he was listening. Sorry. I am happy here with you. You have no idea. End flashback. I felt my stomach tighten over nothing but the memory. I hadn't meant to remember so much. I ignored the emotions I was feeling and thought about what Emmett had told me before. Follow instincts. I can do that. I sniffed the air and smelled the aroma again. It definitely wasn't human, so I figured it was safe to let go, so to speak. I took off into the direction that called to me. I got about 10 feet from the smell and saw what the scent was representing. A deer, how anticlimactic. I ran and pounced on the doe before she even knew what was happening. I snapped her neck, eager to end her pain and fear. I sunk in my teeth right next to her major artery and sucked in the warm liquid. It soothed my throat that I hadn't even realized was on fire. I drank till I was only drinking in air. Emmett was right. I just knew what to do. Thanks, big brother. I took down 2 more deer quickly. I didn't think about it at all. As I laid the body down into a natural ditch to decompose back into the earth, I thought about Angela and Renesmee. My throat didn't burn at all, but I wasn't sure that would continue. When I was face to face with my friend and my baby, there's really only one way to find out. I'll just take it slow. I ran, following my own scent to lead me back to the house. It felt like mere seconds had passed before I saw the break in the trees, followed by the massive white house. I could see every paint stroke along the outside walls and every fingerprint on the wall of glass. I could also hear every sigh and heartbeat. I took a deep, completely unnecessary breath to settle my nerves. I ran up the side of the house and jumped through the window to Carlisle's study. I could smell the blood again and my throat ached a bit, but I could push it away. I saw the sheet I had borrowed from Rose's room covered in my blood. I went to the filing cabinet and took out a biohazard bag and put the sheet inside. It didn't appeal to me, but it was still potent. I looked back to the spot where I had Renesmee, the spot where she bit her way out of me, the spot where I turned into a vampire. I saw the syringes lying on the floor, both empty. I hadn't intended to use both, it was just a precaution that I took out 2 in case I didn't think it was working. I wasn't sure the amount I would need or the condition I'd be in. I really didn't intend for both of them to be in me. I looked to the first syringe. It was the one Angela put in me. Well, that's the one I wanted. I looked at the other one. I didn't even look at the name. I knew which ones I had pulled out. Why I pulled that one, I still didn't know. I should have pulled Carlisle's. I really didn't want this venom coursing through me for eternity. I felt like crying, but knew from observation that the tears would never come. I placed the syringes into the biohazard bag and tied it shut. It was over and done with. I couldn't dwell. I looked around the room. I had stashed some clothes in the closet, so I decided to change. My body was back to its normal size, but far from its normal surface or temperature. I was cold, hard, and although I hadn't seen it yet, sparkly. I hoped I'd be beautiful, but I wasn't concerned about it at the moment. I could hear 2 heartbeats. One sounded like it was coming from the living room. The body wasn't moving, and the heartbeat was a bit faster than I remembered them being. Renesmee. I was positive. She must be on the couch. I listened for another heartbeat. Angela. It sounded like she was in the kitchen, and she was moving around, humming to herself. I could smell her blood and the potency, but I felt able to resist. Then I smelled more. Did she hurt herself? I heard pouring. Oh, she must be fixing Renesmee. Bottles? Damn. I didn't have bottles. I didn't have anything. I was hoping Angela could get me some stuff before I went into labor. Oh well, I guess she figured something out. I listened as I heard Angela walk back into the living room with Renesmee's food. She stopped and signed. Well, I guess it can wait till she's done with her nap. She naps. She sleeps. Oh my gosh, my baby sleeps. I don't wait, but I was shocked. I guess I figured the vampire part wouldn't make that possible. I went to the door. I wanted to see her, especially if she was sleeping. I wanted to hold her. I wanted to thank Angela for taking care of her, for sacrificing her weekend and her perfect attendance to help me. I opened the door, and the smell assaulted my senses. I closed it as quietly as I could, but it still made a definite bang. Bella? I heard Angela gasp. I couldn't risk her coming up. I couldn't risk the proximity. I could handle it when there was a whole story, plus a door between us, but I wasn't sure about any less than that. I bounded out of the window in less than a second and stood in front of the wall of glass. I saw Angela standing at the foot of the stairs, contemplating whether she should go upstairs or not. I tapped the glass as lightly as I could and saw Angela jump and spin around to face me. Bella? She looked so confused and shocked. I looked at my reflection and saw myself for the first time. I looked different, more enhanced, but it still looked like me, just more defined. Then I saw my eyes. They were dark crimson. I should have grabbed some sunglasses. I held my hand in front of my eyes and waved her over. Oh my God, Bella, what? She couldn't finish her question, and I knew I couldn't really answer it. I can't explain, Angela. You don't know how much I wish I could. But it's best you don't know anything. I can't risk something happening to you because of me and her. I looked to Renesmee on the couch. Her head was turned away from me. She looked so perfect with her curls falling off the edge of the cushion. Bella, I don't need to know. I have an idea, but I don't need it. Confirmed. She made a nervous laugh, and I wondered how much she figured out. Obviously, it wasn't enough to make her leave. I'm glad I could help, and I promise I won't tell anyone. Ever. She looked back to Renesmee. She's really special and smart. She's absolutely perfect. And she missed you. I swear, I couldn't sworn that she even... Never mind. She what? I was concerned. What did she do? What could she do? It's nothing. I think I'm just a little tired and overwhelmed. I'm sorry. I didn't know what else to say. She looked at Renesmee and back to me after a few minutes. You're leaving, aren't you? Yeah? I have to protect her. I can't really be seen like this either. I moved my hand and saw her gasp. She collected herself quickly, but vampire reflexes let me catch it. I hope you two will be safe. I'll miss you. And I'm really going to miss Renesmee. She's such an extraordinary baby. I could tell she meant it. She fell for Renesmee. I couldn't blame her. I was already missing her, and she was just on the other side of the wall. Are you sure you'll be okay? She looked nervous, and I wondered again how much she figured out. Yeah, we'll be good. I wouldn't let anything happen to my baby. She smiled at me. I know. Goodbye, Bella. Goodbye, Angela. Thank you. She smiled and grabbed her bag. She could probably go to school for the rest of the day. I held my breath as she walked outside and got into her car to drive away. Then I took a deep breath. I could smell Renesmee, but she didn't smell like a regular human. She smelled floral, like freesia, like me, like I used to, and somewhat icy. She smelled perfect. I opened the door, and the bloodlust was the last thing on my mind. I didn't crave her in that way. I craved her company. I sped to her side and picked her up as gently as I could manage. So not to wake her, she felt feather-light, like there was nothing in my arms at all. I giggled, not knowing if it was my vampire aspect or hers that made it feel like that. She yawned and opened her eyes, her mouth opened, and then turned into a giant smile. Hey! I couldn't think of what to say, so I just stared down at her and continued to smile. I already loved her more than anything in the world. More than anyone in the world. Renesmee shifted and lifted a hand up to my chin. I gasped as I saw a vision of myself covered in sweat, with my face enveloped in pain, trying to say soothing words to her. Then it flashed to a vision of me holding her, the reflection from the window wall we stood in front of. The vision disappeared, and I looked into her eyes. She looked proud. Did you do that? She lifted her hand to my cheek and showed me a vision of her doing the same to Angela, showing her a vision of me. She was asking Angela where I was. Oh, you did do that. That's a special gift, Renesmee. I was so dumbfounded. I couldn't believe she used her power around Angela, but she wouldn't have known not to. She sensed that I trusted her, and so she did too. I stood there thinking about Angela. She must have been so freaked out. That must have been what she was about to tell me. But she was so unsure she couldn't accept it. I walked over to the window wall, trying to process what to do. Renesmee signed in my arms and then reached up to me again. This time she showed me a vision of Angela. She wanted to know where she went. She loved Angela too. She went home. She can't stay with us. She showed me the vision again. Her tone was forceful as she mentally asked why. Angela isn't like us, but hopefully we'll see her again someday. I wasn't sure if we ever would, or even could, but I couldn't bring myself to tell her that we'd never see her again. I couldn't break her heart. Why don't you show me what I missed while I was away? Renesmee smiled and showed me everything I had missed. She showed me Angela washing her up and dressing her in one of Alice's shirts. She showed me Angela being confused about the blood, but again choosing to just ignore her concerns. She showed me Angela rocking her and humming some acoustic version of You Somebody by Kings of Leon. She showed me Angela telling her stories about me, mostly from school, and never mentioning him. She showed me Angela taking her for a walk around the house and her being amazed by the tall green trees. She wanted to touch them but was afraid to ask since Angela didn't respond to her first request. You can show or ask me anything, Renesmee. We just have to be careful. You can't do this to others, okay? She showed me myself, telling her the statement along with her silent yes. She then showed me Angela again, but this time she remembered her smell. She showed me how Angela's blood made her thirsty. Oh no, she didn't, did she? I know, I smelled it too, but we don't hurt people, especially Angela. You love her, remember? Her silent confirmation made me relax. She wouldn't hurt her. I should have known that. Renesmee yawned again and closed her eyes. A few minutes later, I was sure she was asleep. I didn't want to put her down, but I needed to get us ready to leave. I walked up to Alice's room and laid her on the bed. I tucked a blanket around her and started packing a bag of clothes for myself, along with some of Alice's shirts for Renesmee. They would have to do till I could go into a store and buy some baby clothes. I put my bags into the back of my truck, along with the trunk from Alice. I took some pillows from Alice's bed and created a makeshift bed in my truck for Renesmee. I decided to take the opportunity to call Charlie and Renee so they wouldn't suspect anything. They both had brought into my story so I could relax and just worry about where I was headed with my daughter. As I watched Renesmee sleep, I wondered where we would go and what we would do now. I didn't have much confidence in myself, but Renesmee had confidence in me. She wasn't worried or scared. She was relieved and happy that I was here with her. Edward POV, middle of March, 6 months after he left Bella. I have been sitting in this tree for hours, staring at the house for hours. I was sure it was probably 4 in the morning by now, but I couldn't leave. I couldn't do it again. I would never be able to leave her again. I don't know how I did it in the first place. I was afraid to approach her window. What if she doesn't want me? What if she's still mad? She accepted it in the woods, that I didn't want her, and it took all my strength not to grab her by the shoulders and tell her otherwise. I couldn't understand how she believed me so quickly. I still don't. What if she really believed me? How could she believe me? Believe that I didn't love her, didn't want her? It's impossible. It was physically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally impossible for me not to love her with all of my heart. Just because my heart didn't beat, didn't mean it didn't belong to her. I left my heart here with her. I clung to the branch with all of my strength and tried not to rip it off the innocent tree. I wanted to sneak into her room. I wanted to see her sleep. I wanted to hear her speak in her sleep. I wanted to wake her and apologize. I wanted to kiss her. I wanted to feel her back in my arms. How could I have left her like that? Not only did I leave her after her birthday party from hell, but I left after I finally gave myself to her and her to me. It was never my intent to go so far. I never thought we had that possibly. I had planned on it never happening. Whether she agreed or not, I thought I would be dangerous, that I would kill her. Why not just take her hunting with the whole family? I'd probably get the same result. I fell even more in love with her that night. She trusted me not to hurt her, which was exactly what I did in the end. She loved me back wholeheartedly, and we both experienced something that would change us forever. I couldn't help imagining what would have been if I hadn't left. If her birthday party never went the way it did, we would have stayed together. I would have continued to love her immensely, and we could have continued let our relationship develop, emotionally and physically. I could see it. What would have happened if I had never left? We would have stayed together and been happy. Maybe we would have been engaged by now. I certainly would have asked. I sat next to her every night while she slept, just thinking about being with her forever. But I could only ask her for a lifetime. The sun was beginning to rise, and I still was in the same position that I had bounded into when I arrived here. She would be turning on her lights any minute now to get ready for school. I'll wait for her, I'll let her go to school, and I'll be waiting when she comes home. I didn't want to keep her from her life, and I felt like I needed a lifetime to apologize to her, not 5 minutes in between her shower and getting breakfast. I waited. I wanted to watch her get ready for the day. I wanted to listen to her heartbeat as she woke up and realized that it was morning. Her heartbeat was the single most important sound in the world, and I had missed it for far too long. I vowed to never be away from it again, for any reason or any amount of time. I listened. I heard Charlie's shuffled steps to the bathroom and down the hall. I heard his groans that signaled his back was aching from staying on the couch too late the night before. I heard the water running as he filled the coffee pot. I heard his heartbeat, but not hers. Where was she? Was she okay? I looked around the house for any clues that I may have missed last night. Her truck was gone. Where would she have gone? A friend's? I couldn't have missed her. I would have noticed if her scent had passed me during the night. She had been gone all night. A sleepover then, maybe with Angela or Jess. I tried not to think of alternatives. I had asked her to move on. What if she did? I knew Charlie was stern, but she lied to him frequently for me. What if she was lying for another boy? I felt jealous for a split second, and then I felt ashamed. I asked her to forget me. I asked her to move on. I can't be like this, but I have to know. I didn't even know if it was true. My mind had become a loose wanderer the last 6 months, and it continued so. I knew only seeing her again would cease the problem. I just needed to see her. I hid in the trees as all the kids filed into Forks High. I could see the mundane drama unfolding between students I remembered, but didn't actually miss. Mike Newton and Jessica Stanley were apparently breaking up for the third. No fourth time this school year. Just admit that you did it. I know you cheated. Just admit it. Newton was screaming at her from the parking lot as she was walking away from him with Lauren Mallory, who was looking amused. Of course, I cheated, but I'm not telling him that. Jessica was trying to think of another excuse for breaking up with him this time. Oh, please, Mike, I'm sick of competing for your attention. What is that supposed to mean? I swear if she brings up Bella again, I'll smash in her taillights. Bella and Mike? No, God, please. I can't take that one. Please, anyone else. It means exactly what it always means. You are obsessed with Bella Swan. She's not even here anymore. She's been gone for months. Get over her. She never wanted you anyways. Jessica walked into Building 3 for her first class, leaving Newton outside. Bella's gone? Where'd she go? I listened to Mike's thoughts, hoping he would think about where she went. I swear, this is the last time I ever talked to Jess. I'm over it. I can't believe she brought up Bella. She's been gone for 6 months. I can't hold out for that. 6 months? She's been gone for 6 months? That means she left shortly after I did. Where could she have gone? I whispered in desperation. Beep, beep. A text message. I don't know where she is, but I know you're too late. She's long gone. You suck. Alice, it wasn't the first message she had sent me. She was the one to push me to come here. I would have come sooner or later, but she kept going on about how I needed to make up my mind for her own sanity. I flipped my phone close, annoying psychic pixie. I headed back to her house. I needed to see that she was really gone for myself. I couldn't bring myself to trust the minds of Newton and Jessica Stanley to know the truth. I slipped up the side of the house and opened her window. The lock was stiff, but I was able to use enough force to break it in half. Fantastic. I'm breaking into the police chief's house, and I don't even have a person telling me it's okay anymore. Beep, beep. Nice, Edward. Just break in. I'm sure that will help. I could hear the sarcasm, but I didn't care. Her room looked the same. She didn't take much when she left. Her computer was still there, along with her bed and all the clothes she ever brought with Alice. She had taken most of her books and CDs, but there were some still here that she hadn't been partial to. It looked like she only took what she absolutely wanted or needed. I could smell her scent, and it nearly took me to my knees. I couldn't smell Charlie in the room at all. I'm sure he was devastated when she left. He probably couldn't bring himself to even opening the door. Without thinking, I pulled out my phone and dialed the police department's number. Ring, 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 ring. Only in Forks would you have to wait more than 2 rings for the police to answer a damn phone. Ring. Forks Police Station, Chief Swan speaking. What's this concerning? Chief Swan, I couldn't say it was me. He'd kill me. I'm positive. Mike Newton. Well, hey Mike, what seems to be the problem? At least I'll be able to get Mike into some trouble for calling without an emergency. Although I didn't call 911 for that exact reason. Well, I don't really have an emergency, but I have a favor to ask. I'm trying to get a hold of Bella, and I was wondering if you remembered where she went. God, that's stupid. Of course he knew where she went. Mike, you shouldn't call here, unless you need the police, but you know Bella moved back to Florida with her mom. You saw her before she left. She needed the change. She needed a change. What do you mean, Chair? Chief Swan. Mike, you remember how bad she was, but she's better now. You want her number. Yes, please. Charlie gave me her number, but I knew I needed to actually see her. I couldn't say what I needed to say over the phone. I bent down to the floorboards and pulled up the one that I used to hide her gifts. They were all there. She hadn't found them. The plane tickets, the CD, along with the pictures. I wanted to cry when I saw the pictures. Why did I take these from her? I put the contents into my jacket pockets and pulled the board back over. I leapt out of the window and headed to the airport to catch the next flight to Jacksonville. Alice POV. Good God. He couldn't have realized his brainless mistake back in September. I knew he wouldn't find her. She was long gone, and I didn't have the slightest idea where she went. All I knew was he wasn't finding her with the decisions that he was making. I texted Edward again as I saw him reach Bella's mom's house. "She's not there either, idiot." 10 seconds later, my phone rang. I just pushed the green button. I knew he was getting frustrated with me, texting him throughout his search. Oh well, it's my right since he left my sister and forced me to as well. "Hello, Edward, how are you doing today?" I heard him growling as he fought for control of his temper. "Where is she, Alice?" "I need to find her." His tone was desperate at the end. "I know you need her, Edward, but you left her. Besides, I don't know where she is. I wish I did, though." "How is that possible, Alice? You see the damn future? Look for her. Tell me where she is." "Control your temper, Edward. I will hang up on you." I had had my fill of his broodiness and pent-up rage for the last 6 months. It had put a strain on my own relationship since Jazz was feeling all of it too. "Fine. I'm sorry. But why can't you see her? Why won't you tell me?" He was desperate again, and I decided to take pity. It's not like I have anything useful to tell him, but stuff he should know nonetheless. "You broke her, Edward. I have barely seen any visions of her since you decided that we needed to leave her be, to live a normal human life. And in those visions, she's miserable and confused and just broken. I had seen her smiling a few times too, but he didn't need to know that. Besides, they were short and blurry and I couldn't be sure of the truth in them. I can't see where she is or who she's with. I almost never see her entire body, just her face displaying those painful emotions. I don't know where she is or where she would go. If I did, I would find her myself. You shouldn't have waited so long to go find her. I swear, I'm not even sure if what? His tone was depressed. He knew what I was getting at, but he needed me to confirm it. "I'm not sure if you'll find her. I saw us all seeing her again before we left, but now I haven't seen that vision for months now. So I might never find her, I might never see her again." They weren't questions. "I don't know. I hope I get to see her again. I wish that every day that I could see Bella again. I miss my sister. I can't accept that, Alice. I will find Bella. I hope you do." He hung up on me. "Alice?" Jasper came in and walked over to me. "Edward? Yeah, he won't find her. I can't even see her now. I wanted him to find her, but I just knew he wouldn't, and in all honesty, I'm not sure it would be good for her if he did. He won't give up, Alice. He finally sees his mistake." "It doesn't matter, Jazz. I can see it. He'll search for years. He still won't find her. I wish I was wrong." Jasper rubbed my shoulders in comfort, but I was too far into my own thoughts to let him soothe me. Edward POV. Alice was wrong. I'll find her. I have to. I reached Renee's house just after sunset. Damn Florida sunshine kept me away for hours. I looked in the windows and saw no sign of her. I knew I wouldn't, but I still hoped that Alice was wrong. I had nothing to lose. I pulled out my phone and dialed Renee's number. Ring. Ring. "Hello?" Renee picked up the phone quickly, and I could hear that she hoped it was Bella. She hadn't heard from her in about a week, but she wasn't worried. "Hello. Is this Bella's mom?" I was keeping up the mic impersonation and knew he'd ask something stupid like that. Granted, he wouldn't be seeing her and would actually have a reason to ask that. Yes, why? Oh my God, is she okay? Did something happen? I tried to ease her panic. "My name is Mike, I'm a friend from Forks, and I was wondering if she was there." I just wanted to hear her thoughts so I would know where to search next. "Why would she be here, Mike?" "Bella is in Forks with her father." "Is Bella not with Charlie?" "Oh, I'm sorry, that's right." She lied to them. She told them both that she was living with the other. My statement didn't alleviate Renee's concern. She decided to call Charlie as soon as I hung up. Crap, I didn't mean to get her in trouble. "Is Bella not there, Mike?" There was nothing I could say to sway her from calling. "I haven't seen her." It was a stupid response, but I was pretending to be Newton. "Goodbye, Mike, I need to make a call." She hung up quickly. Her mind was panicked and she had to redial several times before she had Charlie's number right. "Where's Bella?" Renee screamed into the phone as soon as Charlie answered. "Renee, how am I supposed to know? She lives with you." "Why don't you know?" "She sure as hell doesn't live with me." "She has been with you for over a year now." "No, she was with me until she moved back with you in September." Charlie's tone was placating and Renee was getting angrier by the second. "She did not move back here in September." "She's been gone since September?" "Yes." Charlie was nervous but without hearing his thoughts. I wasn't sure if it was because he was worried about Bella or fearful of Renee's reaction. How could you not call me? I didn't think she would lie to me about that. Well, she did. Renee hung up on Charlie then and quickly dialed Bella's cell phone number. Ring, ring, ring. Your call has been forwarded to an automated voicemail. After the beep, please leave a message for Bella. Beep. Isabella Marie, you will call me as soon as you get this. You will call me and tell me where the hell you are and why you lied to me and your father about living with us. You better have an explanation, Bella. And you better call me tonight or I will call the FBI, CIA, Secret Service, and whoever else I need to call to find you. I was honestly a bit afraid of Renee at that point. I waited outside her house, all night with no calls from Bella. Renee called and left 3 more messages to the same effect as the first, along with one that was purely pleading her to call and tell her she was safe. I was praying she would listen to that one. I was getting more anxious listening to Renee's thoughts. Renee had also called Charlie back to apologize and exchange everything they knew. Charlie had left several messages for Bella as well, and while he said they were kinder and merely asked her to call and say she was okay, I had my doubts. The sun was coming up and I needed to find shelter from the sun. Sparkly vampire sightings never help anything. I continued to come back to Renee's house for the next 3 nights, but Bella never called. She did, however, send an email. Mom and Dad, I am writing both of you so you don't panic or think I'm hiding anything from one of you. I'm fine. I traveled on my own for a bit and now I'm taking classes online to get my GED. I'm sorry I lied. I just needed to be on my own. And I'm sorry, but I'm still not going to tell you where I am. I'll call you both soon, but I have a feeling that I need to let you both cool down. I will call you soon, and don't worry, I really am doing well. Love, Bella. I left Renee's. I knew Bella wasn't going to tell her where she was. She would have done it already if that was her intention. There was nothing to go on, so I just started searching state by state. Bella, POV. I walked into Renesmee's room to tuck her in and read her a story. It was our nightly ritual that both of us loved. During that time, it didn't matter that we were all the other had, or that we were staying in abandoned houses, or that we didn't venture out into the real world more than what was necessary. When it was just her and me and the story we were reading, I felt at home, and I knew she did too. Granted, it was all she knew, but she still loved our life. I could tell it made me so happy that, even though I couldn't give her everything she should have, she still had a happy childhood. Mama, can you tell me a story tonight, instead of reading one? Sure. What kind of story did you want to hear, baby? I couldn't say no to her, unless she was in danger. Those chocolate brown eyes made me melt every time. If that was all she ever had of me in her, I would be thrilled. A story about Daddy? She was hesitant. Her tone indicated that, and I was frozen. We didn't talk about her father ever, and this was the first time she ever asked me about him. She was nearly 2, but she looked like a 5 or 6-year-old. Still in 2 years. She never asked about him. And I wasn't exactly giving out any information. I do have a daddy, right? You have a daddy. Grandpa Charlie. She had never met Charlie. Or Renee. But she had seen pictures. They knew nothing about her. She knew we didn't tell the both of them for protection. Both for us and for them. But she still loved her grandparents just as much as I did. Yeah, honey. You have a daddy. Of course you do. What's his name? I couldn't believe I had never mentioned it. Edward, your father's name is Edward. It had been a while since I voluntarily thought or said his name, but it wasn't painful anymore. I still loved him, but not in the same hopeless way I used to as a teenager. He gave me Renesmee. How could I not love him for that? Edward. I like that name. Where is he? Why don't we see him? I didn't want to lie to her, but what was I supposed to say? Your daddy left me because he didn't love me anymore, but don't worry, he didn't know about you. I'm sure he wouldn't have left if he knew. No, I couldn't say that. It's not that I doubted he would be in her life if he knew, but I had no idea where he was. I didn't want her heart to break, since we would most likely never see him. Well, your daddy had to move away before you were born. I didn't get a chance to tell him about you before he left. Otherwise, I'm sure he would visit you. I'm sure your daddy would love you very much. Why'd he move? He needed to go be with his family. It wasn't really a lie, as far as I knew. The Cullens were all still together. Together and happy without me. Bitterness shows its ugly face. He has family, so I have more family. All 3 of her dimples showed when she broke out into the biggest smile to show her excitement. Yes, you have 2 uncles, 2 aunts, and another set of grandparents. I had no reason not to tell her. She should know about them. If anything ever happened to me, I would hope they would take care of her. I still had the credit card from Alice and told Renesmee to use if I ever disappeared or was hurt. Really? What are their names? What are they like? This direction of the conversation was better for me. I had no problem telling her about my former family. Well, your grandparents are named Carlisle and Esme. She gasped. Esme, I understand now. Renee and Esme. Renesmee. Me, you named me after both my grandmas. Yes, I did. That's neat, Mama. What are Carlisle and Esme like? Well, your grandpa is a doctor and very friendly and understanding. And your grandma is extremely sweet. You would love her, and I know she would adore you. Esme would adore her. I was certain of that. It made my heart sink a bit to know that Esme may never meet her. I knew she would love seeing her grow up. What about my uncles? You have an Uncle Jasper. He loves history and understands people really well, especially their emotions. And you have an Uncle Emmett. He's a bit scary looking, but he's a big teddy bear. He acts like a kid most of the time. You would love them both. I laughed as I thought of Emmett's antics. He was such a goofball. They sound nice. What about my aunts? You have an Aunt Rosie. That's a pretty name. Yes, it is a pretty name, and she is very pretty too. She's married to your Uncle Emmett, and then Uncle Jasper is married to your Aunt Alice. You've said that name before. She's the one who helped us, right? Yes, your Aunt Alice helped us a lot. We owe her a lot. She loves to shop and is a little hyper, but she's special. She can see the future. That's how she knew to help us. Wow, did she see me coming? I don't know. She never said, but she knew the stuff I would need to help me take care of you. But I don't think she knew about you. I would hope that if she knew, she would have come to visit Buy Down. I desperately wanted Alice to know Renesmee and vice versa. Without Alice, neither of us would be here. That's nice. I wish I could meet her. I want to meet all of them. Do we have to stay away from them too? No, we don't have to stay away. They're like us. Maybe someday we'll see them. Your Aunt Alice did say I would see her again someday. And if I do, I'll make sure you two meet. Was Aunt Alice your friend? Yes. How'd you know? She was so perceptive. Sometimes it worried me. There were many things I wasn't in a hurry for her to discover. Because you started crying when you started talking about her. I wasn't really crying since vampires can't cry. But Renesmee knew what it looked like. She had seen me cry before a few times. She always tried to comfort me when I did. And this time was no different, as she rubbed my wrist with her thumb. Your Auntie Alice was my best friend, and I miss her. I miss all of them. I'm sorry, Mama. Do you miss Daddy too? Yes, I miss your Daddy too. I'll always miss him. Do you love Daddy? Yes, I'll always love your Daddy. He gave me you. Good. I love Daddy too. That broke my heart. I wasn't lying. I still loved Edward. I was pretty sure I'd be in love with him till the end of time, which still would come too soon, but I also knew I wasn't going to be with him either, and I didn't think she would get to meet him. We lived on our own. We had lived in 7 towns in the past 2 years, moving to different vacant houses. I hadn't used much of the money Alice had left for us, just enough to get by. The only things I brought were things for Renesmee. I didn't need anything, not as long as I had her. Mama, do you have any pictures of Daddy and his family? No, honey. I'm sorry, I don't. That was the truth. He took all my pictures of him, and I hadn't stolen any pictures when we were still in Forks. I didn't appreciate his actions and refused to mimic them. I wish you did. I want to know what he looks like. What they all look like. I'm sorry, baby. I hugged her closer. Was Daddy pretty? I laughed. Even with her advanced personality and intellect, she was still just a little girl. She still thought everyone was either pretty or ugly. No variations or shades of gray. Yes, your Daddy was very handsome. Do I look like him? Like I look like you? Yes, your hair color is just like his and you have his nose. Actually, your entire face. Besides, my lips and eye color looks like him. Really? Yes, you look like your Daddy, very much. She did look like Edward, probably more than I like to admit. I saw it every day, but surprisingly, it only made me happy. It was fitting. Even without pictures and things he had given me, I had a reminder. A reminder that was worth everything to me. I loved her more than my own life. Mama? Yes, Renesmee. Do you know where Daddy is now? No, I don't. Do you know where my aunts and uncles are? Or where my grandparents are? No. I wish I did, though, honey. I knew what she was getting at. She wanted to meet them. They were her only family, besides myself, that she could actually meet and talk to and be honest with. She knew she could never tell anyone about vampires or drinking blood or anything else we could do, but she wouldn't have to hide anything from the Cullens. Fortunately, she never really got a chance to be tempted to tell anyone. She never really got a chance to interact with anyone much, either. We only traveled into town for shopping needs. We tended to attract attention, what with both of us being very beautiful. Renesmee looked more human, with a natural blush on her cheeks and the color of her eyes, but she also grew extremely fast. We moved every few months, so nobody looked too closely at our situation. Single, striking teenage mother with a gorgeous toddler that could form grammar-correct sentences living outside of town in a house that was supposed to be empty. Yeah, that tended to draw attention, and I was already a bit paranoid. Renesmee looked up to me, then, and her eyes looked sad. My heart broke when they looked like this. Her eyes were on the verge of tears, and so far the only things that ever made her cry were when we moved, or if we talked about Angela. She still remembered Angela and wanted to see her again desperately. Oh, honey, don't cry. How about I tell you a story about them? Would that make you feel better? Okay. She wasn't enthusiastic, but I could tell she wanted to hear it. The trouble was, I was trying to think of a happy story that involved all of them that I could actually tell her, and my vampire mind had started to blur my human memories. I thought back to a casual night where everyone was home, but not necessarily all involved in the action. Okay, well, one time, I was at your daddy's house, and the whole family was there. We weren't doing anything special. It was just a night in. Your Aunt Alice and Uncle Jasper were there. What about Uncle Emmett and Aunt Rosier? Yes, they were there too, and what about Grandma and Grandpa? She didn't want to leave anyone out. Your grandpa was at the hospital. He got called in because another doctor was sick, and your grandma was in the kitchen. She was fixing me dinner. I still ate food then. She giggled. I had told her that I used to be different, like other people, human. She thought it was silly that I used to eat human food because she couldn't stand the smells. Anyways, me and your daddy were sitting on the couch, talking to your Aunt Alice about what we should do that weekend. Aunt Rosie and Uncle Emmett were going hunting with your grandma and grandpa, so the four of us would stick together. Your Aunt Alice wanted me to go shopping with her, but as you know, I don't like to shop, and your daddy wasn't helping me at all. Every time I looked to him for help, he was glancing in the other direction, having a silent conversation with your Uncle Jasper. Huh, of course I hadn't told her about his ability. Right, your daddy has a power kinda like you. He can read minds. What? It was old news to me, so I laughed at her shocked expression. Your daddy can read minds. He just hears what people are thinking, whether they want him to or not. That sounds awful. What if you don't want him to hear you? You don't really have a choice, baby. He can't control it. He just hears everything. He doesn't do it on purpose or to make you uncomfortable. He just does it. It's who he is. I know why I was defending him. It didn't matter. We would probably never see him. But I didn't want her to be afraid of Edward or think he was a bad person. I wanted her to love him, even if she never met him. Did it bother you when he read your mind? Oh boy. Well, your daddy couldn't read my mind. Why not? I still had no clue. I wonder if he still can't now that I'm a vampire, too. I'm not sure. I guess my brain just worked differently, and he couldn't read it. I could tell by her expression I wasn't making any sense to her. As much as she seemed to be on the same cognitive level, sometimes she just wasn't there. I really don't know, baby. What was Daddy and Uncle Jasper talking about in their minds? Now that she understood at least partially, she just wanted to hear more about them. I didn't know at the time, but they were betting on who would win. Alice or me? What would you win? Again, sometimes she was her age, or at least what age she appeared to be. Well, if I won, I got to stay home with your daddy and spend some time reading and listening to music with him. But if your Aunt Alice won, then I had to go shopping with her and probably would be there from sunup to sundown. For both Saturday and Sunday. They both sound like fun, Mama. Of course they did. She loved to shop for new clothes, even if we rarely did so. I'm sure they do to you, but remember I'm the one who would have to go shopping. She giggled again while she let out a long yawn. I knew I needed to wrap up the story. She needed to sleep. So who won, Mama? You or Auntie Alice? Alice would love that name. Well, when I saw your daddy smiling, I realized why. He was smiling because he saw who would win at the same time your Aunt Alice saw the future and what we would end up doing that weekend. So I asked your daddy who would win. What did he say? He said, Bella wins, you're both stubborn, but Bella wants it more. So you won, Mama. Yeah, I won, and I gotta spend time reading and listening to music and spending time with your daddy, Aunt Alice, and Uncle Jasper that weekend. Actually, I only spent time with Edward that weekend, but I didn't want her to know, if I had my way, she would never be alone with a boy, ever. Renesmee giggled again, showing all three of her dimples. Now it's time for you to go to bed. You need sleep. Good night, sweet girl. Dream happy dreams. Good night, Mama. I love you. I love you too, more than my own life. I kissed her cheek and tucked her blanket around her shoulders. I turned off the light to her room and headed towards the living room on the other side of the house. I could hear tossing. She always needed to toss and turn before actually falling asleep. I smiled as I thought about my beautiful daughter. Then I began to think about Edward and the rest of the Cullens. I really did miss them, all of them, even him. I felt guilty. I felt guilty that he didn't know about Renesmee or me. I felt guilty that I wasn't seeking him out. I felt guilty that Renesmee wouldn't know him because of me. And I felt guilty because I didn't want that to change. She was turning 2 years old next Wednesday. In 4 days, our little girl would be 2 years old. She didn't want anything for her birthday. I had gotten her a locket last year. But this year, I was completely stumped. I didn't want to spoil her, but I wanted to get her something. There was one thing I could get her. I could try to find him. I could use Alice's credit card. And she would find us, and then we'd find him. The option had always been there, and it always would be there. But I couldn't do it. I'm not ready. I had no problem dealing with the fact that we may run into each other someday. I mean, Alice said we would, but I wasn't ready to seek him or the rest of them out. As selfish as it was, I wanted my daughter to myself right now. She was growing so quickly, I didn't know when it would stop, or even if it would stop. But I could give her something else. I knew where there were pictures of Edward and his family in Forks. We could go there, we were close enough, and we could get one of the pictures from the house, and she could have a picture, maybe even a few, of her other family. We needed to move anyways. We had lived in Odessa, Washington for about 4 months now, and I didn't have to be a vampire to hear those whispers. Okay, tomorrow, we'll pack up. I think I'll wait to tell her. I didn't want to get hopes up, and then something happens that prevents us from stopping or finding the pictures. Yeah, I surprise her. Forks. I'm really going back to Forks. And I can't even see anyone.